Good afternoon. I'm Pinellas County Sheriff Bob Gualtieri, and we're here this afternoon to continue from the information that I gave you this morning regarding the incident that happened in a cemetery out off of Gandy Boulevard. At about 3:30 this morning, a Pinellas County Sheriff's Office sergeant observed a 1998 gold Honda Accord that was traveling eastbound on Sunset Point Road west of US 19. The car was traveling without headlights. The sergeant who was traveling westbound turned around. He attempted to stop the vehicle as it turned south on US 19 from Sunset Point Road. The vehicle refused to stop, and consistent with Pinellas County Sheriff's Office policy, the sergeant did not pursue the vehicle, and at that point he was unable to obtain a tag number on the car. That vehicle continued southbound and it ran a red light at US 19 and Drew Street. The sergeant turned around going northbound and was totally disengaged from the vehicle. Another Pinellas County Sheriff's Office sergeant was south on US 19 in an unmarked car in the area of Ulmerton Road. He observed the car a short time later. It was traveling within the speed limit and normally driving. Because it met the description of the vehicle that had fled from the sergeant a short time previously, the second sergeant got behind the vehicle and he was able to obtain the tag number. He ran the tag and found that the vehicle had been reported stolen by the St. Petersburg Police Department. The sergeant did not attempt to stop the vehicle and he followed it, waiting for other units to attempt a traffic stop. The car continued southbound and was driving normally, even stopping at red lights. There was no pursuit, and the sergeant was far enough back that the driver may not have even known that she was being followed. The vehicle eventually ended up at US 19 and Gandy Boulevard, where it stopped at the red light to turn east on Gandy from US 19. At that point, there was another Pinellas County Sheriff's Office cruiser that was south of the intersection, and we surmised that the driver of the vehicle saw that cruiser, and that was the reason why at that point that she ran the red light for eastbound traffic and accelerated through the intersection quickly. The sergeant and other units followed and then saw the vehicle stopped at the side of the road at Gandy Boulevard and Frontage Road, which is where, for those of you that were out there this morning, that's where you turn south off of Gandy to get into the cemetery. Out. The Sheriff's Office units followed the vehicle as it entered the cemetery, and it was traveling at about 30 to 35 miles an hour. This is a very, very dark area, and by now it was close to 4 o'clock this morning. There's no lights in the area, and so as they entered the cemetery, driving on that road at 30, 35 miles an hour, it's actually pretty fast for the windy roads, and with it being very dark and no lighting. As the vehicle rounded the curved road at the end of the cemetery, all you could see at that point, looking ahead, which would be south and east, would be I-275, because the cemetery butts up to I-275. And at that point, the vehicle left the roadway and, without braking, traveling at about 30, 35 miles an hour, entered into a pond, which would be at the southeast section of the cemetery. The vehicle became submerged in the water. The doors were closed and the windows on the vehicle were up. The vehicle drifted about 20 yards into the pond and was fully submerged within about 5 minutes. The deputies who had been following the vehicle, as soon as it entered the water, they shed their gun belts and other equipment. They attempted to reach the occupants and rescue them, but because of the thick, muddy water, they were unable to do so. Found deceased in the car were 2 15-year-old and 1 16-year-old black female. The dead girls are Ashante Butler, with a date of birth of 4/18/2000, Lanaya Miller, date of birth 4/21/2000, and Dominique Battle, who was born on 8/23/1999. All 3 girls lived in St. Petersburg. Battle attended St. Petersburg High School, Miller Gibbs High School, and Butler Dixie Hollins High School. The vehicle that they were driving, and we don't know who was driving. At the time we pulled them out of the car, nobody was seat belted in. They had been tossed around inside the car, and it was impossible to determine. 2 of the girls were in the back seat, 1 was in the front seat, but because of hitting the water and the crash, we don't know who was driving the car. But the vehicle had been stolen by the girls last night at about 8:30 p.m.
Vantage point, there's nobody out. It's sinking still. No, I don't see anybody. It's going down now. I hear him yelling, I think. They're done. They're 6-7 dudes. Did you hear yelling? I thought I heard him yelling as it was going down, but now they're done. They're done. There's nothing in the... Unless they bailed out before, but Button said he's off his feet. Well, he's not really getting the track, or did he even try? He was driving. I think Alex was right on his ass. I sounded like he was.
To read a brief statement. At this time, I'm going to ask you, after she is done, to hold questions. Mr. Anderson and I will answer any questions that you may have. Ms. Winkler.
Okay, I'd just like to say that Lanai was a beautiful person. She was only 15, but she was my baby. She was loving and caring. She was the type of person to give her friends the clothes off of her back. Whenever she was making herself something to eat, I knew she was making food for someone else. Sometimes she would pretend she was hungry so she could sneak food to her friends who didn't have what she had. On the day of her death, she was just 3 weeks away from her 16th birthday. She was working on getting her license. She was looking forward to her independence. My daughter was not perfect. What 15-year-old is? Lanai was my oldest child and a great big sister to her 6-year-old brother. She should not be remembered as a thief, because that's not who she was. If everyone walked around with their mistakes stamped on them, I'm sure you would see far worse things. Today I'm sad because I lost my child, but I'm even more upset about how this story has been twisted. When she was arrested, those charges were dropped. Yet on the day of her death, the sheriff's office released her mugshot. Because of that, Lanai wanted to help people in her situation. She wanted to be a lawyer. I only want the truth. I need answers and I need closure. The last time I hugged my daughter, I did not know it would be the last time I would see her alive. As I prepare to bury my child, I ask that you keep us in prayer, and my heart also goes out to the families of Dominique Battle and Ashanti Butler. None of these kids deserve to die.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do you guys have any brief questions? We're going to take about 3 to 5 questions.
What were some of the records that you requested from CPD and the Sheriff's Office, and how were they denied?
We requested radio transmissions, any videos that were in the cars. We requested CAD, which is the the different calls that may go through. We've requested anything that was associated with this case, whether it's from the alleged stolen vehicle case or actually the recovery of the car. And essentially, we were kind of stonewalled. We were given different answers. And I don't know if you guys are aware, even if there's an ongoing investigation, the family has a right to get the police report. And Ms. Winkler has been denied the police report, saying it's still an ongoing investigation. But there's actually law that says that even if it's an ongoing, the family is entitled to that information, and it just simply wasn't provided. At one point we were told, well, we don't have it, and then we were told, well, we do have it. So once again, both can't be true. Either you have it or you don't. So we're simply asking and requesting for that to be made available to us, most importantly available to Ms. Winkler, as she is Lanai's mother, and she's entitled and has every right to have that information.
What was Lanai doing in the car at 3, 4 in the morning with 2 known car thieves that did have an extensive criminal record? And did she try and stop it during the hours they were driving around?
That's a fair question, and honestly, we don't know the exact answer to that at this